we're going to review White Widow #1 from Marvel. I think the writer's name is Sarah Gailey. I'd never heard of her. I don't ever want to read a comic book by her again. There's only one story that you can tell with female superheroes anymore, Doc.
For fuck's sake, tell us separate stories. Tell a second story with a female character in modern superhero comics, because you're still stuck on the first one, and I'm tired of fucking reading it.
You could at least try to make something original about the character, but they just dumb her down to being the same exact hero as every other female hero. It's Mockingbird, it's Kate Bishop, it's Fire and Ice, it's Powergirl, it's Supergirl. It's the same character over and over.
This is just your typical vapid, autistic, 25-year-old blonde self-insert for some weird lesbian that they pulled out of a coffee shop to write a Marvel comic book this week.
It's the same hero story every single time. The female hero feels aloof, feels like they're alienated, and she's going to discover herself by proving to the world that she's amazing.
They're always quirky. They always think that they're the funniest wine aunt in the room. And every single time, they need to be told by some man, that's not how you do it.
Before you get to that point, they've got to move to a small town that no one's ever heard of.
And become bestest friends with everybody, well, just all the women that happen to live in their town.
And why is the dog or cat always the most interesting character?
Because they don't have children, so they just project a goofy personality from 10-second TikTok videos.
Now, you mentioned earlier that we got to have an established male superhero show up to ruin the fun of the female supposed protagonist. In this case, I don't really understand how you could consider Yelena Belova a protagonist. Obviously, she's going out there, she's trying to murder somebody. Captain America intervenes. So he's the Superman from Fire and Ice. He's the Superman from fucking Powergirl that's in there to rain on the parade of the superhero female that everyone hasn't realized is even better than Captain America yet.
Because he shows up to convince her not to murder people and somehow join the Avengers simultaneously. Every word that comes out of her mouth portrays her as a complete and utter sociopath.
Well, and the fact that Captain America is a superhero, and he's saying, you don't have to be a superhero, but you could be something different. He literally walked in on her trying to murder somebody, and he doesn't try to apprehend her. He just wants her to be better.
It's written as a female empowerment story, so any sort of murder of a man is justified in pursuit of feminism. That's the message we need here.
Especially Captain America, he didn't have a problem. He just wanted her to be better. He didn't want to stop her.
He did want her to not murder this guy, but only because he was an informant for them.
Yes, that's what it was.
His morality wasn't actually tested with somebody that wasn't currently giving him something of value.
Yeah, so they should just not let these terrible writers that come in off the street to use any fucking male heroes that are worth any money, because they just do this every time. Probably the worst thing about the book, and there's so much bad about it, it's actually hard to distill it down to the worst things, but I think the cutesy-wootsy, stupid, dumbass humor that just permeates this entire fucking comic book, whether it be when she introduces her neighbors and they're all super fucking quirky just like her, and one of them's non-binary, and of course, one of them's like tattooed like a fucking leopard, even though she's like 50 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is fucking weird. And then she's got an entire board of things she loves, likes, neutral, dislikes, and hates. And she wants to get to 1,000 opinions. And she's only got 48. And she loves braids and knives. It's so bad, but she hates nationalism. I was really surprised by that one. And it's fucking permeates this entire book. Every attempt at humor is the fucking drizzling shits.
If you were a professional murder for hire and professional murder for hire consultant, if that doesn't pay well enough to at least get like a $1,200 a month 1-bedroom apartment that allows a dog, you're in the wrong fucking business, bitch.
And she also tries to use Russian words in here a lot. And every time that just feels like it comes out of nowhere and it's stupid.
You didn't have to do this random stupid shit everywhere. But I guess the fact that she still thinks of some words in Russian is her quirkiness. Everything that Zach said about these people being the wine aunt at Applebee's is absolutely 100% correct. And none of them have any distinct writing talent or personality. Everyone writes the exact same. And it's annoying as hell with the worst sense of humor in human history.
Another thing that really threw me off. So in the beginning, it's not just Yelena when Captain America shows up. She's also got somebody else with her called Martha. And she's wearing like gray pants with like a black top with a midriff thing. And she's black and she's got a hairdo. And then later on, she's talking to another protege who looks the exact same, but her hairdo's a little bit different and she's got earrings in. And then she's also missing an arm. When I saw this character, I was like, did she lose her fucking arm in that opening battle? It turns out they're two different fucking people. And this lady is a trained assassin with one arm, and just, you see her murder like 30 dudes that are supposed to be private security because ain't nobody going to hold her down, even missing an arm. But I was beyond fucking confused thinking that these are the same characters because there is a little bit of a flashback, flash forward type of thing here. And it took me like 8 minutes to figure out what was actually happening because they have the exact same fucking outfit on.
Like, I thought this started with, it was a couple of months ago, and Marte got her ass kicked. I figured she lost her arm in that conflict, and now, White Widow isn't going into the field and trying to kill anybody, but she's still consulting and being like the man in the chair. And then suddenly she got a bionic arm from this company called Armament because she was dressed exactly the same. And, women change their hair. I've met more than enough women that change their hair significantly, like week to week. At the end of the book, when she's just having this random conversation with the candy store lady, some chick wearing a mask and dressed exactly the same, that is obviously also black. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe the arm that she just put on in the last scene decided to do some mind control shit. It wasn't until way later that I realized, oh, fuck, it's two different proteges that happen to look exactly the same and dress exactly the same.
Can we not give him a different colored shirt?
You couldn't even put her in like red shoes versus blue shoes. They looked exactly the same. It didn't make it. And honestly, maybe the artist was just as confused as you and I, because even like facial features, I couldn't tell them apart.
It was real fucking weird, man. I thought it was the same character. It took me so long to figure it out. And I was like, what is going on here? For Jesus H. Christ, this book is so bad. And then we got like the real villain, because it turns out the lady at the beginning that looks like the lady at the end, she had to have her hip replaced, and she's got that mask on that you mentioned, and she's working for Armament, so she's going to have to get back to Jessica. I believe that's the second lady's name. And it turns out they're not really fighting villains, they're fighting gentrification. Armament's trying to buy up the entire village that she's living in so they can spruce it up or something. This has got to be like the most fucking generic 2020s idea for a superficial fucking story in superhero comics. I'm tired of hearing about gentrification, these like super rich white dudes buying up neighborhoods. There's got to be bigger stakes involved in fucking superhero comics somewhere. It makes sense for Daredevil. It fucking makes sense, even for maybe a Luke Cage or something like this. This is Yelena Belova. This is a fucking trained assassin that works on another level. This should be espionage type of stuff, not bare bones basic bitch. They're trying to buy up our fucking stores.
This is a goddamn Gilmore Girls plot. That's all that they ever are. And it's everything that's wrong with comics since two books, Next Wave and Grant Morrison's Marvel Boy, because it's the exact same fucking plot with some obscure multinational corporation that apparently has designs on a small town and taking over coffee shops and bookstores and hair salons and candy stores, because that's how you're going to control everything in a small town for reasons. Again, it's a bunch of these dumb broads that think that all of idyllic little sleepy suburbs, all of their culture is built off of the candy store, the bookstore, the coffee shop, and whatever else. Yeah, the ice cream parlor. No, they're built off the church and the fucking diner that everybody goes to after church.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm done with this story arc, and I'm definitely done with Marvel and DC just importing the worst writers that they can find. I don't even know if this person's ever actually even sold a book, but apparently she was good enough for Yelena Belova, White Widow. #1, it's so bad, it's so cliche. It's like everything that feminism has done to destroy comic books, like the book. Yeah, very frustrating. I'm not going to recommend this one, Doc. It sounds like you might have been a little bit more conflicted. Are you going to recommend it?
I'm going to recommend that anybody that reads it also be rounded up into pudding camps. Well, maybe that might be a little too harsh, but I'm going to recommend that if you live in a small town, go to your actual local diner and go buy a cup of coffee and a piece of pie, because it's a better use of your fucking money than this stupid Gilmore Girls episode masquerading as a fucking comic book. I hate this thing, and I hate everyone involved in it.
As I mentioned, we've been reading a version of this story for so long. In fact, DC did a very, very, very close story to this one, Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, with another writer no one had ever heard of. And we're like, why is this person writing comic books? And Doc and I reviewed that one. I would say that Welcome to Smallville is probably the exact same thing as this one, but Hawkgirl is certainly a worse comic book than White Widow #1, but that is not high praise. There's also a link in the video description.